Ethan Hawke has never seemed particularly interested in fame for its own sake. Since making his breakthrough in Dead Poets Society in the late 80s, he has carved out a singular path, at times mainstream, often idiosyncratic, but always fiercely devoted to the craft of acting. Hawke is as likely to turn up in a Richard Linklater project that spans 12 years as he is to direct a documentary about a forgotten novelist. His passion for performance is clear, but so is his reverence for the actors who shaped him.
And so I would watch this unpredictability and the electricity that vibrated through him. And only now do I start to realize what an impact that had on me.
From legendary leading men to modern-day peers, Hawke has not been shy in acknowledging the figures who've inspired him most. Few actors have loomed as large in Ethan Hawke's imagination as Paul Newman. His admiration is not simply professional, it's almost spiritual.
I'll send a boy around to your room in 5 minutes. You better have the money or it's going to be all around Chicago that you're welched. You won't be able to get a game of jacks.
Hawke has called Newman a North Star, and his deep connection to the actor culminated in the docuseries The Last Movie Stars, which Hawke directed in 2022. The project explored the lives and work of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, blending archival material with voiceovers from contemporary actors. Hawke said of Newman, "He represented something to me growing up. He wasn't trying to sell anything, and he wasn't fake. He had a dignity. He believed in craft, but also in using his celebrity to do good. I don't think I ever got over watching Cool Hand Luke." That film, along with The Hustler and The Verdict, became key reference points for Hawke, not just because of Newman's acting, but because of the values he embodied.
I would go Hustler, HUD, Cool Hand Luke, Butch and Sundance, and The Verdict. His contribution is amazing because, he has 10 movies that are on the top 100 of all time.
Hawke added, "Newman had this electric presence on screen, but it never felt like he was showing off. You felt like he was genuinely listening, living in the moment. There's a humility in that kind of performance, and it's very rare." That blend of charisma and integrity would shape the way Hawke approached his own career. But it wasn't just admiration from afar. Hawke also came to know Newman personally in the twilight of his life. He was gracious, curious. Even at the end, he wanted to understand the world more deeply. That kind of hunger is contagious. Newman's example made Hawke think deeply about longevity, purpose, and the difference between acting as a job and acting as a vocation. His legacy wasn't just a series of roles, it was a life lived in service of something higher. This reverence would guide Hawke in later collaborations and creative risks, but it also set a standard that few could match. If Paul Newman was Hawke's ideal of the actor as an icon, then Denzel Washington was the firebrand, relentless, precise, and utterly commanding. Their work together on the crime thriller Training Day in the early 2000s would alter Hawke's trajectory. The film gave Hawke his first Academy Award nomination for acting and introduced him to a new kind of screen partnership. Reflecting on Washington, Hawke once said, "He's the greatest actor of our generation. Working with him was like being on a racetrack with a Formula One driver. You just try to hold on."
He's a really powerful actor, and I think he's at the top of his game right now. I think the guy's tremendous.
The admiration runs deep, but it's not without complexity. Hawke has spoken about how Washington challenges his co-stars, sometimes without saying much at all.
Why aren't you in school?
I got special talent.
Yes, you do. And it takes talent to make money. But it takes brains to keep it, Miles.
He has this presence, Hawke explained. You walk into a scene with him and suddenly the temperature in the room changes. You can't be lazy. You can't coast. He forces you to meet him at the highest level. Their chemistry in Training Day was electric, but Hawke has also recalled moments of self-doubt during the shoot. I'd watch the dailies and think, how am I going to hold my own against this guy? But then I realized that Denzel wants the scene to work. He wants you to be good. That's generosity in disguise. Perhaps the most striking moment came after the Oscars. Hawke lost the award to Jim Broadbent, but remembered a piece of advice Washington gave him backstage. He told me, "You don't want an award to improve your status. You want to improve the award's status." That stayed with me. It changed how I thought about success. That collaboration wasn't just a high point in Hawke's career, it was also a pivot. a moment when his approach to acting became more serious, more technical, more exacting. And yet Washington's impact was not just about performance. Hawke also admired his ability to command respect without arrogance. He never had to raise his voice, Hawke said. He just walks into a room and everyone stands up straighter. The Washington effect, in other words, was not just cinematic, it was personal. For someone as focused on American storytelling as Ethan Hawke, the inclusion of British actress Sally Hawkins among his most cherished collaborators might seem unexpected. But for Hawke, Hawkins represents something essential: purity of intention. Their collaboration on the biographical drama Maudie, released in the year 2016, saw Hawke playing Everett Lewis opposite Hawkins in the role of Canadian folk artist Maud Lewis. He sought out the role not because of Award's potential or profile, but because Hawkins was involved. "I saw Happy-Go-Lucky, and it just floored me," Hawke said. "There's this moment where she's talking to the homeless man, and there's no acting in it, she's just present. It's one of my favorite performances of the last 20 years. Hawke went further, explaining that Hawkins never seems like she's acting for the camera. She acts as if she's sharing a secret with the person in front of her. That's so rare. It's intimate. It's brave."
And Sally, of course, is a great scene partner because she excels at that. Her imagination is extremely intense and extremely powerful.
Their scenes together in Maudie were often quiet and restrained. Hawke credits Hawkins for setting the tone. "She's so truthful, you can't get away with anything false. She'll sniff it out immediately, and if she's being honest and you're not, the camera sees it." The partnership also taught Hawke something about vulnerability. "I think I used to confuse intensity with depth. Sally reminded me that softness can be powerful too." Their collaboration may not have dominated box office headlines, but it left a lasting imprint on Hawke's view of what acting could be: quiet, human, and almost invisible. That experience helped Hawke recalibrate his own style, especially in smaller projects where nuance meant more than noise. When Ethan Hawke signed on to co-star with Ewan McGregor in Raymond and Ray, he was initially apprehensive. "Honestly, I was jealous," he admitted in an interview. "They offered him the role first, and I thought, why him and not me?" But that feeling didn't last. As soon as filming began, Hawke recognized a fellow traveler, someone as committed to the work as he was. "Ewan has this lightness about him," Hawke said. "He doesn't carry the weight of the role around all day. He shows up, gives everything he has, and then makes you laugh at lunch." What struck Hawke most was McGregor's combination of skill and generosity. "He's incredibly good-looking, incredibly talented, and yet not remotely arrogant. That's annoying," he joked, "but it's also inspiring. He just loves acting."
He's exactly the person you think he is. Charming, fun, dedicated, hardworking, easygoing, passionate. I mean, he's everything you want to scene plan, that's for sure.
The pair bonded over their mutual love of storytelling and their shared sense of having survived fame with their instincts intact. "We're both dads, both theatre lovers, both a little wary of being too Hollywood. That gave us a kind of shorthand." Their scenes together were steeped in emotional weight, two estranged brothers navigating grief, but Hawke credits McGregor for keeping the mood alive between takes. "He never lets the heaviness stick to him. That's a real gift." The experience reminded Hawke that not all great actors are tortured artists. Some simply bring joy to the work. "I learned from Ewan that lightness isn't the enemy of seriousness. It can actually deepen it." That sense of camaraderie stayed with Hawke long after filming wrapped. In a career often shaped by intensity, McGregor represented a different kind of influence, one rooted in ease, professionalism, and quiet assurance. While not an actor in the traditional sense, Richard Linklater deserves mention because of the creative partnership he and Ethan Hawke have built over more than 2 decades. Hawke has credited Linklater with helping him rediscover the joy of acting, particularly during the Before trilogy and Boyhood.
He said to me he had this idea about making a movie about growing up, and instead of trying to boil it and condense it to one, pithy moment, he wanted to shoot over a period of 12 years, collecting moments, building a whole imaginative life of a young person and to grow up with them. Personally, I couldn't believe it hadn't been done already. It seemed like such a great idea.
Rick taught me that not every scene needs fireworks, Hawke said. Sometimes it's about the small things, the look, the pause, the unsaid thought. He made me fall in love with subtlety. In fact, Linklater often encouraged Hawke to think like a writer and a director, which deepened his performances. When you work with Rick, you can't fake anything. He sees through it. He expects you to bring something real. Their collaboration also gave Hawke space to grow. He trusted me before I fully trusted myself, Hawke said, and that kind of faith is rare in this business. The work they did together, especially in Before Sunset and Before Midnight, was shaped by deep conversation and lived experience. We weren't pretending to be those characters. We were those people, in that moment, trying to figure things out. That's the magic Rick creates. Though Linklater isn't someone Hawke watched on screen growing up, he is someone who changed the way Hawke approaches every performance since. He made me believe that honesty is more interesting than cleverness. That belief would go on to inform how Hawke directed his own films and how he judged the work of actors he admired. One name that Hawke consistently evokes when discussing great actors is Philip Seymour Hoffman. Though they never shared the screen in a major project, their careers overlapped, and Hawke has spoken about Hoffman with great admiration. Philip had this ability to inhabit every role so completely, it was scary, Hawke once said. He didn't perform characters, he became them, and yet he was never showy. He let the work speak for itself.
I did everything I could.
They knew each other from the New York theatre scene and shared mutual friends. Hawke described watching Hoffman perform in Death of a Salesman on Broadway as a revelation. I sat there thinking, this is what acting is supposed to be. He gave everything, every night. What touched Hawke most was Hoffman's refusal to coast on talent. He never phoned it in. Even when he didn't have to prove anything to anyone, he still gave it everything he had.
He was amazing. And we had always wanted to do something together. And I was doing this play, Hurly Burly. And Phil came one night, and he sat there, and he had such a big aura around him. I remember being on stage, I could kind of sense him.
Hawke has also expressed sorrow at Hoffman's untimely death. We lost a giant, and it wasn't just his acting, it was his heart. He was one of the good ones. Hoffman's legacy for Hawke is a reminder that true greatness lies in commitment and honesty, not accolades or reputation. He made the rest of us want to be better. That's the highest compliment I can give.